Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever felt like you're just one move away from success, but your big win depends entirely on what someone else does? Well, there's a science for that. Today we're diving into game theory, the science of strategy.
This right here is the big question. What do you do when your outcome is tangled up with someone else's choices? This isn't just a hypothetical puzzle, it's something that plays out constantly every single day in business, politics, you name it, often without us even realizing we're in a game at all.
And believe me, this isn't just for a game of chess or poker. Game theory is basically the hidden rule book for the modern world. We're talking about huge decisions, like competing companies figuring out what price to set, countries trying to hammer out a climate deal, or even just bidders in a high-stakes auction. It's the logic underneath it all.
All right, so to really get a feel for this, let's jump into one of the most famous puzzles in all of game theory. It's called the prisoner's dilemma. And trust me, this little thought experiment perfectly captures that classic tension between doing what's best for you and what's best for the group.
So here's the setup. Picture two companies. They've got a simple choice. They can either work together on a big project, we'll call that cooperate, or they can decide to go their own way, to compete, and we'll call that defect. The catch? Their profit depends entirely on what the other firm decides to do.
So what you're looking at here is a payoff matrix. It maps out every possible result. The first number in each box is the payoff for firm 1, and the second is for firm 2. Now, just look at that top left box. If they both cooperate, they each get a nice, solid profit of 3. That's the best mutual outcome, right? But you can feel the temptation, can't you?
Okay, let's put you in the hot seat for a second. You're firm 1. What's your play here? Let's think it through. If you think firm 2 is going to cooperate, you could cooperate too and get 3, or you could defect and snag a payoff of 4. Now, what if you think they're going to defect? Well, you could cooperate and get 0, or you could defect and at least walk away with 1. It's tricky.
This exact problem leads us right to the huge aha moment in game theory. It's a concept for finding the most likely, stable outcome in these strategic puzzles, and it comes from the mind of the brilliant mathematician John Nash. It's called, you guessed it, the Nash Equilibrium.
Now, to find this equilibrium, we first need to understand a super simple but really powerful idea, the best response. It's exactly what it sounds like. You just ask yourself, given what I think the other person is going to do, what's my single best move?
Let's go back to our matrix and really trace this out. Let's say firm 2 cooperates. What's firm 1's best response? Well, it's to defect, because hey, a payoff of 4 is better than 3. Okay, now what if firm 2 defects? What's firm 1's best response now? It's still the defect, because getting 1 is definitely better than getting 0. You see that? No matter what firm 2 does, firm 1 is always better off defecting.
And that, my friends, is what we call a dominant strategy. When one of your choices is always the best response, no matter what the other player does, that's your dominant move. And in this classic prisoner's dilemma, defecting is the dominant strategy for both of our firms. And all of this leads us right here to the Nash Equilibrium. It's that stable point in the game where everyone is playing their best response to everyone else's strategy. It's a point of no regrets. No one can do better by changing their mind all by themselves. In our game, the equilibrium is where both firms defect. But isn't that fascinating? It's a stable outcome, yet it's worse for both of them than if they just found a way to cooperate.
Okay, so that seems pretty cut and dry, right? You just find the dominant strategies and boom, there's your equilibrium. But what happens when the game is a little different? What if there is no single obvious best move?
This throws a real wrench in the works. What do you do in a game where your best move is always to do the exact opposite of whatever your opponent is doing? You just end up chasing each other in circles, with no stable outcome in sight. There's no clear equilibrium like the one we just found.
Let me introduce you to a little game called Matching Pennies. It's simple. Player 1 wins if their coins match, both heads or both tails. Player 2 wins if they don't match. Now, just think about the logic here. If player 2 plays heads, player 1 wants to play heads to match. But if player 1 plays heads, now player 2 wants to play tails to mismatch. And if player 2 plays tails, well, you get the idea. We are stuck in a never-ending loop. There is no pure strategy equilibrium here.
So how in the world do you solve a game that feels like it has no solution? Well, the answer is just so cool and totally counterintuitive. It turns out the best move isn't to try and outthink your opponent. The best move is to embrace total unpredictability. You have to embrace randomness.
This is what game theorists call a mixed strategy.
Instead of just picking one action and sticking to it, you randomize. You assign a certain probability to each of your possible moves. You're basically deciding what to do based on a coin flip. Why? The goal is to become so unpredictable that your opponent has absolutely no way to anticipate your next move and exploit it.
So for our matching pennies game, the solution is just beautiful. The stable equilibrium, the hidden solution, is for both players to choose heads or tails completely at random, with a 50-50 probability. By doing that, you actually make your opponent totally indifferent to their own choice. It doesn't matter what they pick, because they can't predict you. There's no better move, and so the game finally becomes stable.
And this brings us to the absolute mountaintop of game theory. See, John Nash didn't just find a clever little trick for one game. He proved something truly incredible. His famous existence theorem states that every single finite game, I don't care how complicated it is, has at least one Nash equilibrium, as long as you allow for these random mixed strategies. A solution always exists.
Wow. So we've gone from a simple dilemma between two firms all the way to a mind-bending solution that involves pure randomness. But you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Well, let's pull this out of the world of theory and see what it actually looks like out in the real world.
So let's do a quick recap of the strategic toolkit we've just put together. We've learned how to spot a strategic game, we know how to figure out our best response, and we can identify a Nash equilibrium, that key stable point. And most importantly, we've seen how a mixed strategy, pure randomness, can be one of the most powerful strategic tools you have.
And I want to be clear, this is not just some fun mental puzzle. Economists use these exact ideas to model and predict how giant companies are going to compete with each other. And governments use this stuff to design multi-billion-dollar auctions for things like cell phone airwaves, all to make sure the outcome is as efficient as possible. This theory has very, very real consequences.
Which really just leads us with one final thought to chew on. Now that you can see this hidden strategic layer of the world all around you, maybe ask yourself, where in your own life are you playing a game? And now that you know some of the rules, what's your next move gonna be?